Welcome everyone, this is Five Needles and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week I am joined by Cinders.
Hello!
Hello Cinders, how are things going this Thanksgiving weekend?
Fantastic.
Alright, nice. Of course, because it is U.S. Thanksgiving weekend, there isn't much in the way of game news this week. We are hoping that they will get things more percolating next week, and maybe next week they'll have a bull ready so they could test, because I know they are planning an update for December 6th, and if they want to have any bull bills, they would have to have it next week.
That would be awesome.
We'll find out. I don't know if missions are going to be needing a bull or not, but if they do, then that might be next week. But other than that, it's a very calm week and not much going on, except of course our store sales. Cinders, what is on sale this week?
Well, you can accelerate your adventure and get 25% off Blessing of the Valar, Aria of the Valar, which is the 105 boost, Valar level boost to 120, Valar level boost to 130, Mithril coins, all the way through November 30th. And the weekly coupon is for a free +5 Hope Boost that lasts 90 minutes. Coupon code is Hope Boost, all caps, HOPEBOOST. Also good through November 30th.
Right, thank you on that. So let's go and have some reminiscing, and we could reminisce about our first character that we've had. Did you guys see about your first character in LOTRO and what type of character you chose?
Okay, so I'll start. My first character is Emeraldina. I started her on Landerval at Sans's kind of behest. She was like, I'm playing this game and I want to spend time with you. Would you like to play with me? I was like, sure. So I was trying to pick a character that I could play. And if I remember correctly, it was Emeraldina. And I picked her because she is really hard to kill most of the time because she's a guardian.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, something that's hard to kill. Sweet, I'll try that. She neglected to inform me that that also means that it's harder to kill things.
The trade-off, yes.
Yeah, so I really had no idea, as this was the first MMO that I had ever played, and so I just was kind of literally stabbing in the dark. And so that's what I ended up doing, and she's still my favorite to play, even though she isn't the one that was my primary for a really long time. How about you, Pine?
All right. Back in the earliest days of LOTRO, I think I went through quite a bit of changing around on what my first character was, trying to decide what my first character was, and I can't be 100% sure of my first LOTRO character because I did a lot of experimentation a few times, but the first one that I remember was called Timlik.
Oh.
And that was a human lore master. And yes, the name is a little nod to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So because obviously his nickname was Tin.
Yeah.
So I had him as my lore master. I was thinking, yeah, let's try that as my character. I can't remember what it is that didn't. Maybe because I didn't think that I really wanted a Monty Python type character name as my main character or something like this, because I don't think that character lasted all that long. And I tried all sorts of different characters, all sorts of different ones through the first couple of years through it. I think that the first one whose name I ever reused after, because we had to say anything before Moria and after Moria is sort of my splitting point on characters in there because Pine Leaf, which is my main these days, that's a character that couldn't have existed before Moria because the Warden class was introduced with Moria.
Oh.
Oh, you didn't know about that?
I did not know about that.
Yes. The Runekeeper and the Warden were two classes that were added with the Moria expansion, so they were actually the first two premium characters in there.
Okay.
So prior to that time, I had a lot of trouble trying to decide exactly where I wanted to go with my characters and changed quite often in there. So I had Timlik as one of them. I had a minstrel called Really or something like that. So it's trying to. But I also had another minstrel called Petronella Turner. And the reason why I bring that up is that's the only name that I used in my early days that I could remember actually reusing.
Oh.
After because the first character that I created for Bingo Boffin, that's the first time I did Bingo Boffin, I wanted to create a, let's see, what was it that I wanted to do it, but I forgot the reason why I had decided I wanted to do it with a specific character, and I wanted to call it, so it was Petronella Turner is this character I decided to use for Bingo Boffin, and I think I actually did a burglar for that. I can't remember the reason for the burglar. I think it is that the appearance of my character is what was doing to it and what weapons I had. And minstrel, I don't think, because I think I actually wanted the character to be a minstrel because the original version of that name was a minstrel. I think I didn't do it because of the class that was going on at the time. So I made a burglar and got through all the way until Eregion, and then I sort of ground to a halt with the burglar. I had trouble getting a burglar up into Moria and all that stuff when I was doing my first round of Bingo Boffin, so I actually switched to a hunter at that point. And I had to go through an entire storyline in one of, because you remember when you've done Bingo Boffin?
I've done parts of Bingo Boffin. I've gotten him, I think, all the way to Rivendell.
Okay, so you haven't gotten as far as Eregion then.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, there's a storyline in there that involves a name change. Let me just tell you that much.
Okay.
And I decided that somehow my character got renamed as a result of that adventure. Does that sound like that? Well, I forgot exactly the justification I gave on that thing, but the entire thing was renamed. But anyway, that's of course way off on the track because that's not a main character here. So back on topic. But I was just saying that Petronella Turner is the one name that I had actually used later on in my entire time. But most of the other names, those are all discarded, and I've been favoring the Pine names ever since we've had the time. And I think it's because around... See, it could have been because at first I was thinking, well, maybe it was because of the kinship I was in at the time. But I think I was in the kinship that I used with Pine Leaf. Oh, actually, no, it could have been. Yes, because because when I started Moria, I was originally on Nimrodel before Moria, but Nimrodel was a couple of hours coming up, so I created a temporary character called Pineleaf on Winfola, and You know how they say there's nothing more permanent than a temporary character?
Right?
Yeah. And so that became my main. I don't think Crick Hollow existed back in those days. And so Winfola was my main server, and so I moved on to Winfola, and of course, since I created a new character on Winfola, I had to create all new characters for playing on Winfola since I changed servers. That's the reason why I lost a lot of those earlier characters. And on Winfola, that's when I started using the Pine convention.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
I was gonna say, because I didn't know that anything outside of Pine Leaf existed. And
Yeah,
the Pine variants.
and the Pine variants came along after Pine Leaf did, and Pine Leaf came along with Moria because Moria is when they introduced the Warden. And I wanted something, and I figured a Pine Leaf is, sharp and pointy and long, it's like a spear. So
Yeah.
that thing came to mind. So anyway, so my first character then was Timlik, but as I said, I'm sure that character disappeared completely at some point, whether deleted and rewritten or something that just faded away as a result of merging of servers and things like that. I'm not too sure which one of those it happened. But then I did not choose my original server. I guess I assumed it was either recommended or it was just random, but eventually I settled on Winfola because it came up with the Moria update before Nimberdale did. All right. Now, you asked about primary. You said that your primary is now Emeralina again, or is it?
So right now, Emeralina is the one who's gone the furthest. And so as of right now, I'm playing her as my primary. But I go back and forth between her and my lore master, Cinderina. So I kind of go back and forth. Cinderina for a long time was my primary because I created her when the Valar to, I think it was 105 came out.
Okay.
So that I would have a character that could run around and do the upper level content with Sans and the rest of you guys because I didn't have anybody else who could, and I was getting really tired of constantly redoing the very beginning content and never going any further. And then, like, on Thursday nights at the time, you guys would all go play, and I couldn't. And so I was really frustrated because anyone who knows me knows I'm like the biggest extrovert in the family. And so I'm like, people. I can't be with the people. And so I Valared her and then played her really right up through Mordor, that expansion. And then kind of played her and Emeralina back and forth, depending on what we were doing. Once I got Emeralina up, Sans and I stormed on Methedris to get her up so that we could do it, because we were doing something with girls with her. And then, so I've kind of gone back and forth. But as of right now, M's the one who's the furthest. Cinders is still hanging out with the bears. And hasn't gotten beyond that. So
with the bears.
Yeah, she's back in, I think it's Limlock. Yeah. Back in that expansion. So yeah, she's like 122, something like that. But for right now, I'm very happy with M. It's been fun to run around. I started playing M as a primary with Kiosaurus. And her primary Farrar because two guards together, neither one of us would die. And so during this time, when you guys were podcasting, she and I would get on LOTRO and we would plow through the content prior to Gundabad. as two guards just cruising through, wailing on stuff, which was fun. So that's how M ended up being where she was to be able to pick up and run with Pine Stone.
Okay.
Yep. So, yeah, that's how I ended up with her there.
All right. Then, anything else to add about your first character before we head on to our next section?
I think that's it.
All right. So our new player question this week is what?
So it's been a while since we've had a new player question, but I was just thinking about this again last night when we were doing Friday Night Fights with the Mythgard kin, and was thinking, oh, that's kind of a big deal. And I saw somebody in Rivendell who didn't have a kin. And so I thought this might be an opportune time to just talk a little bit about what kins are, how you might go about selecting one, starting your own, those kinds of things for people who are new to the game. And get a random kin and you're like, what is this?
Yes, random kin invites.
That did happen to me, and had Sans not been sitting right there, I probably would have ended up in some totally random kin and had no idea what was going on, because they were like, hey, invite to this kin, and I would have just been like, yes, because that's how I roll. But Sans was like, do you know who they are? Do you know anything about them? I was like, no. She goes, then don't say yes. I was like, okay. So she helped me pick my kins, and the kin that like M is in is the family kin. And so yeah, like to get into that kin, you have to be a part of the family or have us be like, and we're adopting your character. But I think Cinders is in Mythgard. And so how did you pick your kins, Pineleaf?
How did I pick my kins? I think every single kin had its own. I think one of my very first kin, at least the ones on Nimbledale, I think they're most likely all on random invites.
Okay.
And so I was wondering, okay, well, this looks. The first one where I might have had a reason on a particular kin was the name of the specific kin. This was on. This was on Windfall after the Moria update on there, and I was trying to think which one to do. And I noticed one that was called the House of Blackrock, and that sounded like an interesting name for a kin. Now, I didn't immediately try to contact them or anything like that, but so happened that I did have at that time a lore master that I don't think I have quite yet settled down on my naming convention for characters at this point. In other words, I had already started Pineleaf at this time, and I might have had one or two other Pines, but I also was still making at this point some characters that didn't have Pine in their names. So I had a character called Thistlespark, a lore master, because this. That's strange. I'm always thinking a lore master, but with a name like Thistlespark, it sounds more like a runekeeper name.
It does.
Yeah, so maybe it was a runekeeper. That's.
Although, lore masters do have some pretty solid lightning skills, so it could be a lore master.
Yeah, okay. I guess it could have been. It was either Thistlespark, right?
The fire, I mean.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a name that a character had in one of our D&D, in the D&D campaign I was in. So there was a character in there called Thistlespark, so I said a little homage to that particular character. And I had one called there, and apparently there was a character in the House of a person in the House of Blackrock called Thistledown.
Oh.
So they bumped into me and was thinking that. So they were wondering whether or not I was in one of Thistledown's characters.
Okay.
So I think I started bumping them into that. And I do remember doing an instance with some members of the House of BlackRock. So I think so around this time I can't remember whether they approached me or whether I approached them afterwards or something like this. But then we I got a kin invite in there, so I joined that particular kin. And technically, I'm still a member of that kin because they moved to Crick Hollow after the mergers.
Mhm.
But the kin hasn't been very active recently, and I haven't been very active on on Crick Hollow recently. I think I do have a couple of characters there, but not as much as I used to. So I picked that one because of the name. Mythgard, which is my main kin these days, I'm in there because of his relation to Mythgard, to Corey Olsen stuff.
Mhm.
So it was all because of the Corey Olsen stuff and stuff like that. I think is where I got why I chose that kin. I think did you choose it for the same reason?
I actually chose it because of at the time it was Maven, who was playing a lot with Sans and I, and
Right.
Sans had characters in there as well. And so that's how I ended up joining that one because she was like, "Oh, you could be in this. I can add you." I was like, "Okay, cool." So that's how Cinders got into it, Cinderina. Um, and like I said, Emeralina's still in the family one. And then and I say I think most of mine are either not in kins or they're in the family kins. Just because it's a lot of work and I don't do it often enough to remember like how to set up my kin note to be like, oh yeah, this is an alt and I'm connected to Sans. Because that's how, at least at the very beginning, most people knew me.
Right.
And then there are some other like really popular kins that I've seen around that I think have like websites and stuff. Um, and so I know like for rating and stuff with Ploy, they have a website where you can get more information about them.
Right.
Things like that. As ways to kind of help pick and know a little bit more about them, but I don't know if some of the smaller kins have those kinds of things out there or even if all the large ones do.
Yeah. I know a lot of them do post information inside in the forums because there's a server subsection for each of the servers. I think there might be a subsection that's directly relating to kinships within there.
Yeah, and I've seen some of them featured like in the LOTRO news that they had. I don't know if they still are doing the little newsletter.
No, the newsletter. Yeah, they used to do that in the newsletter, but
Yeah.
that went. Oh, that went away.
I say it's been a while, I think, since I've seen
it's been a
one.
while since
So,
they published it, right?
but I know that was a place where you could find it. I would imagine you can find older ones of it for ideas for kins to join, for people who are interested in finding new kins. But I mean, it's worked out well for me. I hang out with you guys, and I've made some new friends through it. I mean, I wouldn't say tons of new friends, but I think I've made at least a few friends and people that I know I can say, hey, I'd like to do this, and then get a group together from the different kins, whether they're bringing alts from other kins or what have you. I know we did that a little bit with Cinders Hasn't Done It, where I'd be like, Cinders hasn't done it, and then they'd be like, okay, and everybody bring your friends. And then I think the other thing that I can think of about the kins is that some kins are like explicitly like LGBTQIA plus friendly, and others are maybe not so much. And so if that is something that is applicable to you, that would definitely be something to look for when you're picking your kin, is just how you feel like they might treat you as an individual and whether you feel like it's going to be a good fit.
Right.
So.
Right. And now, how? Now I know that you've started at least one kid because I know that a couple because I think when we had I guess a tongue-in-cheek kinship for when we were playing together on one server. You created a kin for that, or did Sans do that?
I think I probably did.
Okay.
So I think that was the group where I actually have a captain. And hey, my captain made it to level 40 something. I'm really proud of that. Yes, we did make that one, and that one was the whole point was references to Pine Leaf. And so I had a captain, and I think Sans rolled the Bjorning. And then I don't remember what we named that one. But we had, mine was a snotty high elf, so I don't even remember what I named her offhand. Yeah, but they were just kind of joke names to see how long it took Pine Leaf to realize that we had done that. And then we made a kin for those three characters.
Didn't you have one like Pine Sniff and Pine?
Yes, it was
Pine Scratch. I think this Pine Sniff and Pine Scratch.
Yes, so Pine Scratch was the bear, and Pine Sniff was my captain because you know how like her head in the air, you know. Because she was a high elf too. So yeah. So we had Scratch and Sniff. And I don't remember what we named that kin though. But it was actually
the one that was Ponderosa, so.
Something like that, yeah. So that we could have all the pines in it. Yeah, but we just went and talked to, I think it was the person in Bree that we talked to at that point to get a kin set up. And once it's set up, then when you reach a certain level, you can get a house. So we got to a certain level. We got a kin house in the Falithorn homesteads there. And yeah, I'm sure it needs upkeep paid. Our stuff is probably all gone back at this point. Because I don't know, it's been years since I've been on Crick Hollow. I think it was like 4 years when I looked at my thing. So
yeah,
all our housing items, I'm sure, are no longer there. And we probably need a new house.
You probably have to. Yeah, I see. What would? Yeah, because I wonder what the thing is. Because I think you'd have to pay. Because I think that you may have to pay up all the back upkeep in order to just. You have to pay up all the back in order to abandon the house. I wonder.
I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that it's going to be expensive whenever we do get in again. But yeah, no, so that was fun, and it was actually pretty easy to do. And then Sans had set up the family kin for all of her random alts, and so that's the kin that Emeralina's in, and then when my son started playing, that was the kin that we put him in as well, so that we could kind of keep tabs on what he was doing. So, because he was a little young when we started him. So, you know, at about 7, somebody's still got to keep an eye on you.
Yes. All right.
So.
Then let's head into our week in gaming. And what were you up to this week?
So I did play a lot of LOTRO, but I also found my Switch Lite again. It apparently had been like 9 months since I had seen it last. Because when I logged into Animal Crossing, my poor villagers had not heard from me in 9 months, and they let me know that they were not happy about it. I heard everything from I moved away to I must have gone on an adventure to I must have been like exercising and doing something fun to don't ever leave me again. Don't have fun without me. So I logged back in on Thursday because I had the extra time on Thanksgiving Day. And that was fun. I got all of my Thanksgiving items again. And got to set them up and do some fishing, do some digging, all that kind of good stuff. Um, and then Friday night, I did Friday night fights on Emerlina at level 148 into 149, trying to just kind of see where she's at as far as gear and skills go. And that one I did it with Pine Leaf and some of the guys from Mythgard, and had 3 deaths.
Oops.
Most memorably, it was the last one. So I have my skills set up so that they like scroll. If I push the little up arrow, it'll switch to like social skills. And so I have like my toast emote, my clap emote, my lecture emote, all those kinds of things in there on my skill bar. And what happened was that we had a fell arrow come in. And I don't skirmish very much, just in general. But it's really hard to tank a ranged class because they don't follow you. You have to like run down to them, right? So I'm running down because we were doing something, the Gondaman one. So I'm running down the stairs because I see this fell arrow and I know they're not going to come up the stairs, right? So I go running down there, taking damage this whole time, trying to figure out what on earth is going on. And I went from almost 200,000 health down to like 38,000 something health before I realized what was going on as I'm like running around trying to like toast and clap for this guy and cheer for him. And I had muted my mic too, so I was trying to tell the guys what was going on and I didn't realize I had muted myself. And I'm running around and I run and then I run back and up the stairs, still trying to like just stay alive. And Pyleaf goes, "You can't leave the fell arrow alone. They do distributed damage." And then it was like, I was dead. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was dying. Yeah, the guys were trying to figure out what on earth had happened because as a guard, I shouldn't have been one-shotted. And I was like, so I had my social skills up. I was not able to do anything to save myself till it switched back. And at that point, it was too late. And then, yeah, so we did survive that, but it was definitely something that I will be living down for a little while. And then I played some more earlier today with Pine Leaf and hit level 150 and finished up the epic on Emerlina. And so now I just need to finish up all of the rest of the stuff, like the deeds and things like that. And as I was reminded yesterday by Pine Leaf, get my skirmishes opened. So that will be on my list of to-dos as I have free time this upcoming week and moving towards the winter break. We'll be working towards that. So, yeah, good times and a lot of craziness in there. So, how about you, Pine Leaf? How was your week?
All right, I will begin with my Mariner, where I cleared up a number of loose ends in Umbar so that I have, well, all the quests that I could think of in the Umbar area. I think I've done with. There's still one quest in Amphalis that I have not been able to find, so I have not yet finished the Amphalis deed. I don't know what I completely. I went scoured the place, and there's just one quest that I cannot find. But outside that Amphalis quest, I've finished the quest for every single zone in the new contest. When I say finish the quest to it, I mean finish the deed. Finish the deed associated with the quests in that area, and I've done the bulk of the quests all over the place, including in the city of Umbar. And boy, are there a lot of quests in the city of Umbar.
Oh yeah, we ignored so many of them.
Yes, yes, you're right. Yes, with my Runekeeper, yes, we ignored a lot of them because we were focused on the epic storyline in there, so that we could finish that, and just barely finished that just before the show. Anyway, I cleared out loose ends in Umbar, and then I joined Friday Night Fights for several skirmishes, and I think Emerlina gave an example, said that, of course, that we did Gondaman, we also did Storm on Methedris. I think that's one that you chose.
Yes, and then that was the first and second time I died. The first time was my fault. The second time, I'm not so sold on it being my fault. I think it might have been one of the soldiers' faults. But yeah,
Oh,
good
the
times.
second time is when we managed to pull the entire courtyard.
Yeah, I'm thinking what happened is somebody's skirmish soldier went in too far, and that they were the ones that pulled the whole courtyard.
Well, that could happen.
Because I know that is something that does happen. But no, the first time I died, 100% also my fault for line of sighting the healer. So, you know. Continue, Pine Leaf. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Yes. All right, then. Now, so my Rune Keeper reached level 150 and finished the epic, as Emerlina said. And as Cinder said, yes. And my Warden helped restore the lumber production in Gondor. So I am making progress slowly through Gondor with my Warden. So there's a great deal of time in Umbar this week. We currently have 13 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, you go to the nation's page to support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money will be used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. The Players Alliance has 2 shows each week. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News and re-record the DO Players News when Drac is available. If you'd like to contact us, you can send us an email at podcast@lotroplayers.com. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pilot Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.